Hello, my name is Prime, and welcome back to American Truck Simulator, and welcome back to part 4 of the longest delivery possible here in ATS for 2025. And today we're going to be continuing on where we left off in Twin Falls, Idaho, and we're going to head up to Yakima all the way up in Washington State, covering 450 miles and taking roughly 8 hours in game time. Now, this section of the delivery is a bit shorter compared to our previous episodes. However, it is still a significant distance that we will have to cover, well, tomorrow morning here in game time. So with that said, I'm gonna head into the truck stop, get some food, and then come back to my Freightliner Cascadia and get some much needed shut-eye for this evening, and I will see you in the morning. And just like that, it is shortly after 4 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna get an early start here. So without further ado, let's get our Freightliner Cascadia started up and get on the road. All right, let's get rolling. Welcome everyone to part 4, and thank you all so much for the support here on the long haul series thus far. Part 4 of 5. As you can tell, we are getting very close to the end here, and yes, this episode and part 5 are going to be shorter than what we've experienced so far. The reason for that is, well, fairly simple, just because of how the episodes have broken up in terms of the rest stops and stations available and how I chose to do it, but also this. And as we move forward into especially the final episode, I wanted to make sure that everything with that episode would run nice and smoothly, and of course be able to kind of give a bit of a summary along with it. Plus, we're going to be doing the delivery as well, so there'll be a few extra bits in it that take some time. That's kind of part of the logistics of it for the sake of videos, but that's okay. We're still covering significant ground today. Yes, not the same as what we've done in previous episodes, but once again, that is okay. We will survive. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I certainly am, and it is great to be back here once again in ATS. Admittedly, I wanted to do some other episodes in between these long haul videos. I mentioned that actually in early episodes of the long haul. However, some things have come up, and unfortunately I've been unable to do so, at least until this point. Hopefully, if you're watching this upon video release, hopefully you're enjoying your Wednesday. Second of all, hopefully this week we should have some other content coming very soon, which would be fantastic. Again, just a matter of logistics and availability for myself, and making sure that, well, whenever I do a video recording, I genuinely have the energy to do it, because I don't want to just try and fake it. There's something that you will notice, and, well, if I'm not enjoying it, what's the point of putting it out? And maybe I shouldn't say enjoying it, more so than if I'm just trying to fake keep energy up and talking about various things. It's really hard to do when, again, certain things happen. So it's okay. We're here now. Been prioritizing this long haul series, which I think is valid. And again, we will go from there. So we're heading up to Yakima today. Obviously going to be primarily highway as we get back onto the highway here in Twin Falls. And again, we'll continue across some of the, well, less reworked areas, or some of the more older DLCs of American Truck Simulator now, which is kind of crazy to say. And again, we're going to be still seeing some of that transition point between the different DLCs, and honestly, as we continue up into Washington State, kind of seeing the more older areas and standards that SEA Software used to run in map DLCs, which has been kind of neat. Going across from Texas all the way up through. Obviously, Texas by no means is a new DLC anymore, but it is still a high-quality one, to say the least. I think next year's delivery for the long haul series will be very intriguing to see, because depending on what rework projects come between here and then, there is going to be probably a pretty big difference, and we've actually got to get over here. It looks like there's either an accident or a chase that concluded, and we're going to give the AI plenty of room today because we all know their antics. There we go. Now hopefully no one's going up on the right hand side. They are, but they're going to have to wait. there's going to be probably some significant map differences from where it's going. I'm assuming next year we'll be heading more from the northeastern end of the map and then going to the southwest. So in that, I'm sure we'll be crossing through a number of states that, well, haven't been touched for quite some time, and then some brand new ones as well. But hey, I don't know. Maybe the longest route will be a different route. One that I maybe am not expecting so far, but given the DLCs that are coming out, at least supposedly coming out for American Truck Simulator sooner than later, I can only assume that we'll be going more northeast to southwest, or vice versa, in the coming year. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about, well, something quite significant actually, but one that has a lot of different options, and again, just some of my thoughts on American Truck Simulator overall, specifically what other either features or specifically vehicles could come to the game. This is something that a lot of you like to know and hear my thoughts on with the game, and of course, comment down below along the way on your thoughts and different perspectives on even some of the topics I'm talking about. I love to see the interaction there, and thank you once again for all the interaction so far and all the thoughts and information as well in the videos so far. It has been incredible to see. I truly do appreciate it. But today, I wanted to focus on some of the different vehicles and American Truck Simulator overall and what it could evolve into. And I'm going to try and focus mainly on the logistics side or some of the other or heavier equipment side of American Truck Simulator. What are their either realistic features or trucks or so on, or maybe even some just abstract features related that I'd like to see. I'm going to just do a bit of a quick summary here. Obviously, Project Road Trip is a feature confirmed. Yes, we don't specifically know all of the details about Project Road Trip yet and what the feature itself will bring, other than we know Ford vehicles are going to be coming into the game, cars, SUVs, or at least the Bronco, and then obviously F-150s and so on. Everything looks very much like a more of a scenic opportunity there. However, there have been a little bit of teaser information here and there, or at least ideas, I know, coming out of SES Software's camp, saying that there could be something logistics related with them as well, which would be fantastic. So with that put aside, with Project Road Trip and what American Truck Simulator will encompass with personal vehicles and map exploration and so on, filling a gap that some of you have rightly been pointed out because of games like The Crew being basically killed off. That's honestly an intriguing market for SES Software to touch into with the game that's already established. So again, that's one side. I want to focus more on the trucking side, or at least heavier logistics side of the game. I've talked before about the different trucks and possibilities for reworks, new models, whatever. That's been talked about before, but I want to talk about some of the different types of trucks that I would like to see added to American Truck Simulator over time. I'm going to start off here. Some form of rigid truck. A box truck, for example, or something along those lines. I know that is in development for ETS2. That has been teased on streams and so on from SES Software. They are working on rigid trucks for ETS2. I think that would be a great addition for American Truck Simulator as well. Some form of solid frame box truck, I think would be really, really neat. Along with that, potentially into different vans. I'm not going to lie. I am so far a little bit surprised that in the Ford Vehicle Pack DLC for the Project Road Trip module or feature of American Truck Simulator, I'm surprised Ford Transit vans were not included in that. Everything coming from that camp in terms of the DLC and even earlier communication about Project Road Trip, transit vans or just vans in general have not been included. I feel like that could have been a big opportunity to really help ease the logistics network into the game. I think that would have been, or ease that into a logistics network blend. I think between the trucks and a transit van, for example, that could have been pretty significant. Why that wasn't done? I don't know. Is Project Road Trip truly going to be more scenic? It very well might be, at the rate things are looking at and what's being included. But again, things can evolve over time. So back to the box trucks and vans, I feel like bringing in those variants would be very, very neat. Again, just adding an extra layer to the economy for American Truck Simulator. Whether that's smaller commercial deliveries, because again, box trucks and rigid frame trucks are extremely common here in North America as well. Whether that's just smaller scale logistics, well, slightly smaller scale logistic deliveries to just various stores or whatever, or even bringing in something, or even opening the door for different mod developers and so on. But I'm even thinking more of a personal transport. If you're bringing in some of the other personal vehicles and so on, with American Truck Simulator is how things are developing, why can't there be little missions almost for, you create a moving company. Now that's a bit more of an abstract idea, but it's one that's logistics related, using the American Truck Simulator map and some of the residential buildings that are around the area in the maps anyways, or even commercial buildings. Have a moving company where you haul personal goods to and from a certain area, or just between two locations. That could be a really cool thing to do. And again, my idea was the cargo vans and box trucks or rigid trucks, whatever you want to call them. My idea with that is that it would provide a natural stepping stone to grow your logistics company in American Truck Simulator. That being, starting with, whether it's a transit van, whether it's, an F-150, for example, was a trailer, doing some hotshot trucking that way. Starting with something along those lines, eventually getting enough money to upgrade to a box truck. You then do some deliveries to some box truck, and then you can afford to maybe buy a used truck, a transport truck, sorry. Once you get into the transport truck, then you grow from there. You can keep the other vehicles in your fleet, diversify the cargoes that's being hauled around, build a logistics company basically from the ground up, a more natural way than trying to get financing with a bank, which is American Truck Simulator. You could just kind of do some jobs for someone, and then all of a sudden, bank will give you $400,000 in a loan, with, well, according to the game, nothing really behind it. And then you go out, either buy a brand new truck or a used truck, and just send it from there. Obviously, that's how the logistics and gameplay network is working in American Truck Simulator so far. But I feel like having a box truck or van would just bridge that starter gap, not to mention just add a really neat layer to the in-game economy without really having to add too many different cargo types, to be honest. A standard, a rigid truck, a box truck can be anything from a dry van to a refrigerated truck, no problem. It could also be a flatbed. That would be very interesting as well. Well, for example, hauling lumber or different construction supplies from one of the home store, for example, basically the Home Depot in-game variant, hauling stuff from a hardware store to a job site without doing it on a full-blown transport, which again, short flatbeds and transport trucks do exist at hardware stores. A lot of them do have something like that, but a lot of them also just have rigid flatbed trucks too. That's very common. That would be extremely neat to have. And the flatbed route also goes into another thing that I would love to see. That being tow trucks. That would be very neat, in my opinion. Now, of course, that could bridge across different size and scale. but and maybe this looks more like a mission situation, similar to almost like a moving situation where having a moving company or different mission deliveries, you got to do different challenges. I think maybe a tow truck could be very interesting, even just one or two in the game. Having a tow truck and doing towing missions could be very neat. There are random road events along the side of the road, but there are also different construction zones and stuff like that. ST Software could add different cargo market jobs technically. And our truck is struggling to go up the hill here. Could add different cargo market jobs that essentially make us drive to a particular point on a road or highway, whatever it may be, pick up, quote unquote, the vehicle that has broken down and tow it to a service station. Again, could be kind of neat. Different idea there. And actually circling back to the rigid trucks or box trucks, basically. Probably along the same line in significance, I would say the box trucks, rigid trucks, plus dump trucks or bulk haulers would be really, really cool. I would say the box trucks and dump trucks, and then into like a tow truck, for example, would be kind of like my priority list in terms of, or preference priority list, if that makes any sense, on what I'd like to see. Dump trucks would be a really cool addition as well, and I think would honestly come in with a rigid truck edition anyways. You're gonna get up to speed there, car? I think you are. You should be fine. I think that would be, again, just a really interesting addition to have. It'd be fairly easy to add, in my view, to the logistics network. Again, it'd be hauling the same goods as what some of the other kind of bulk haulers in the game that exist already would bring in. Again, I think it could be really quite neat. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that one. I think dump trucks, box trucks could be a really simple addition to the game. Maybe they're in development. I do not know. Maybe ETS 2 is going to be the trial of box trucks and rigid trucks, and then that will bridge across eventually here to American Truck Simulator. I don't know. Comment down below what you think about that one. I would honestly love just to see it. Well, and I guess in that sense, some of the other, we do have like bulk trailers here in American Truck Simulator for our trucks itself, but some of the options aren't, well, fantastic for ownable, bulk hauler trailers. Maybe part of it is just the branding side of it. Most of the, well, as far as I know, any of those are not branded trailers, other than, say, like a Load King grain hopper trailer. That's about that. It'd be nice to really see some different branded, trailers come in for American Truck Simulator as well. That's another front. And again, just diversifying what we can haul. And that's the biggest thing with the different trucking side, with the dump trucks, box trucks. Yes, some of the cargo may be similar, but my goal would be to, or my wish with it, is just to diversify the type of truck that you're driving. Diversify, again, the market. It's not just 18-wheeler, it's also other kind of more medium-duty trucks as well. Could be pretty interesting to see. Different brands as well technically could then enter the market to a certain degree. But at the same time, especially with dump trucks and box trucks, there are a lot of common brands here in American Truck Simulator already, or established brands, I should say, that have those variants of the trucks that basically you drive right now. It's pretty common. Freightliner, International. Volvo definitely has dump trucks. Kenworth, Peterbilt, they all have them. They all exist. I feel like, yes, of course, there's licensing for the different styles of trucks, but they're working on with the same team, I would assume, at least corporately. They're working with Kenworth Trucks. They're working, well, I guess it'd be PACCAR Group. They're working with Daimler Group, respectively. They're working, you know, they're working across the board with the main North American trucking, you know, companies and different organizations that would be dealing with the licensing. How hard is a dump truck and box trailer to ask for? That's my 2 cents. Once again, comment down below what you think on that one. I just think those would be really neat to see. And then, yes, going back to the more, well, tow truck or flatbed tow truck related logistics deliveries, I feel like that could be just an extension off of the more rigid truck edition to American Truck Simulator. Again, would that be in just the general cargo, you know, quote-unquote cargo network of getting these different jobs? Oh, and we're actually okay to bypass because we have a green light. So, which is fantastic. I will happily continue just through here and bypass the scale. Appreciate that. And we got to be careful because there is significantly twisty roads through here in this area. No, I feel like the would it be in the standard cargo or logistics network? I don't know. That probably could be that would be an easy avenue to bring that, you know, tow truck feature into and do different contracts for. Is it the most realistic? Probably not. Would there need to be new scenarios or different missions? Arguably, yes. I don't know. There is a lot of different options there. Options that honestly leave American Truck Simulator in a really great position because there can be a lot done in the future. It's just a matter of time and honestly a matter of the market to see where things go. And to me, the question is, would something like rigid trucks, would something like tow trucks, would something like a dump truck be a free update to the game? Or would it be something like Project Road Trip where you're purchasing basically that extension or module to the game itself? I feel like if it was up to me, I would say that specifically the box trailers, or the box trucks, sorry, and the dump trucks should just be an American Truck Simulator standard. I don't feel like there's any need for an extension or anything like that. I feel like those trucks could just simply integrate into the in-game economy currently. Go to a lot of the same areas. We have, you know, gravel pits. We have different quarries and so on for the sake of the dump trucks. We have, well, pretty much every logistics option possible for whether it's a flatbed, rigid truck, or it's a box truck of some sort. There's simply an easy addition there, in my view. Of course, there's technical behind, but I do honestly believe those two should, if they're going to come in, would make the most sense just to be included in the game anyways. Whether people want to use them or not, maybe that's up to debate, but I think they would be extremely popular, and of course they would add a more realistic layer to the whole progression of building your logistics company. In terms of tow trucks, my kind of other idea of something potentially that could come to the game, I feel like that would be something similar to Project Road Trip. Simply being that I feel like if SES Software is going to implement it, ever, they would want to build more of a, you know, module around it. What are you doing with the tow truck and having a bunch more dynamic, you know, system revolving around it more than just a standard in-game economy related and just adding different cargo types. I feel like that's the route they would go with that, so I would expect that one to be a custom DLC like Project Road Trip. Probably just a one-off thing where it's a, you know, tow truck, whatever. If you get it, you get the tow trucks, and maybe over time they update the tow trucks in whoever owns that DLC. You just get the either new dump or tow trucks, or you get the free updates, obviously, like a lot of the DLCs occur right now. I think that's where SCA Software could move with it. Now, on the other side, obviously at ETS2 right now, there's a big talk about, well, basically the equivalent to Project Road Trip over there, which is coaches, Project Coaches. In ETS2, instead of getting ownable vehicles and so on, or branded ownable vehicles, they are getting coach buses for hauling passengers around. Is that something over time that we could expect to come to American Truck Simulator? I honestly believe it could if it's received very well over in ETS2. I could potentially see there being I could potentially see it being warranted over here in American Truck Simulator as well. Bringing passenger transport could be a cool thing to do. Now, the other option for here in American Truck Simulator is, do you leave coach buses over in Europe, and do you just leverage the Project Road Trip feature to do something like taxis, or almost like an Uber situation, or whatever your transport option may be? And now we've got to come into a way station. That one is maybe up in the air, and I want to know your thoughts on that one. Would you want to see buses come into American Truck Simulator, or would you prefer just to have specialized ownable vehicles, basically, and different quote-unquote missions for that? That would be an interesting one to see, but obviously that is currently in development for ETS2, the buses, or the coaches. So it's a little bit more realistic to say that that could come over to American Truck Simulator. Obviously would take a lot of work. And also, I am not 100% sure how many bus terminals or stations there are currently in the American Truck Simulator map, and if many of you have ever noticed it. I can't really recall any. I'm trying to think in some of the newer reworked areas or the newer maps if there's any form of terminal anywhere more passenger related, because I know they exist across the ETS2 map in many areas, because this was always, well, initially planned for ETS2, but then kind of put on the little bit of a back burner, at least temporarily until now. So comment down below if you've ever noticed that in American Truck Simulator, because that could be a very big indicator on if coaches could start to be integrated into the American Truck Simulator economy, or if that is going to be exclusively ETS2. The other thing is, I do not know if SCA Software has ever talked about the relation between coaches and American Truck Simulator, specifically with the launch of the ETS2 DLC, or the confirmation of it at very least. I don't know if they mentioned anything about American Truck Simulator. I don't recall it, and I don't know if in select streams if they've been asked if American Truck Simulator would ever have it. Again, if you've heard about it, comment down below. I'd love to hear, well, any form of information you have on it. All my wonderful detectives out there, you all are amazing. You find out the details in ways that I don't even know how, but you do. Most of them is just, most of you just pay attention, which honestly is a very smart thing to do. I obviously can't always keep up with all of the SCA Software streams and news, believe it or not. I've got a lot going on, my friends, but I do appreciate those who try and keep up to date. There's a lot of information there, and especially all the streams. I do appreciate your efforts, and I always appreciate when people like to fill me in as well. So there you go. That's a few of my main thoughts on different types of logistics that can come. Obviously, there's a lot more as well. Actually, just thinking about it, again, rigid box trucks. There's also rigid tanker trucks, so fuel deliveries to job sites, whatever. They need diesel or whatever fuel they may be using. Why can't there be a rigid truck tanker that, from propane to other fuels? It's so common. I there's already a logistics network for it here in ATS. Again, that's where I've said it before in this video. I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it again a lot more in the future. I think box trucks, rigid trucks in general, but box flatbed tanker is a genuine idea for expansion of American Truck Simulator in the logistics realm that would probably be received extremely well. Well, we're heading up into Yakima here, which is fantastic. It's been quite a while since I've been over in this area, I must say. Gonna head up across and over. We're heading into the city itself to a rest station or service center there. And we're gonna have to head to the right here. I think I can actually just stay in this lane for now. I will have to get over it though, because we're turning right just up ahead. We're gonna let the truck go. There we go. It's been quite some time. Transport. He's turning. Okay. Swinging out into the lane, even though, I mean, I guess there was the barrier there, but still, jeez. AI at it again. It'll never fail. So with all this video said, there's a lot for American Truck Simulator to potentially consider in terms of expansion, that being SE software. But there is a lot of options. Some of them, you know, are maybe more feasible than others. Again, I'll say this once more and that's it. Rigid trucks, I feel, is the most, or solid frame trucks are the most simple addition to American Truck Simulator in terms of an expansion of the logistics network without having to completely overhaul the logistics network. Right? It's just what the models are. Like something like that. Why couldn't we have a little reefer truck like that? I think it would be really neat. I honestly do. So let's pull in here. Do I have to pull in this side? No, I have to go. Oh, actually, I can go in here. I'm probably good on fuel. I'll leave fuel for now. We're going to just pull right through. And then we'll pull up around and head into one of the rest spots. You know what? Let's just pull up through here. Nice simple spot. Pull right in. We'll be able to pull right out in the next episode. Wonderful to complete part 4. Thank you all so much for watching. And once again, comment down below what you think about my thoughts on the different vehicles or types of trucks that could come to American Truck Simulator, of course, in the future. I honestly do believe, I'll say it for, I don't know, probably the 5th time in this video, that rigid trucks would be a fantastic addition. I will love to see them in ETS2 as well, what is supposedly being worked on as we speak. But I'd love to see it here at American Truck Simulator as well. There's so many options over here as well that could be introduced with that, and there wouldn't be a ton of, well, at least from an outsider position, a ton of work to the actual in-game economy or game mode to bring it in. It'd be simply bringing in like another brand new truck. Once again, thank you all so much for watching part 4, and I will see you in part 5 in the next one.